Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
just
me too. I'm completely
we have-
burnt out.
What are
Like
your
every day that I
reasons
wake
for-
up, I'm still just... School is killing me, man. I can't keep up.
In what way?
Just too much school, too much homework, too much stuff to do. Also, I don't want to do life anymore. Like, can I just not do life? Like, can I just go to sleep
Try.
and like hibernate for like 4 months? You know? Because I feel like it would
Talking
take
to
me about
Alicia.
4 months to be actually rested. What?
Did you talk to Alicia about hibernating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then that's where that was coming from.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because no, she was talking about like hibernating and whatever, and I'm just like, okay, you can go ahead and do that, I guess. That's your decision, but but no, I totally understand the need for a break.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on in the world for one, and then in our own personal levels, there's too much shit. Is how I'm going with. That's the best explanation that I can give.
Yeah, I agree. You know, one of these days we're gonna have to do like an episode of like how we met and like our life story.
Well, it all started something 2 years ago.
No, literally, it was the first time that we ever had a fire drill. Okay, that was the first time that we ever spoke, was outside talking about the gosh darn fire trucks, and like we were annoyed at them, and we were complaining about the fire trucks and like the, fire drills and yada yada. And then we realized that we were in the same cap class, and it just kind of went on from there. I remember that very distinctly. I remember talking to you.
And here we are, still talking.
Yeah. I know.
See,
Funny
I
how
don't
life works.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember any of that. Mainly because it was grade 9, and I just kind of blocked that part of my mind. I think grade 10 is where everything took off for me, though. Like where it was like a sense of normalcy. Because grade 9 was all over the place.
All right, well. Yeah. I feel like every year is a little weird, you know?
It is, which is kind of annoying, but that's fine. It's totally normal.
Yeah. So what was your story?
Okay, so yesterday, actually no, I'll start it here. 2 Fridays ago, I said that I wanted to talk to my boss about something. And because the company that one of the companies I work for or whatever, manages properties. And so I had done a little bit of research and was like, okay, well, that sounds really cool. How can I get some experience in this? And so I went and like talked to my boss, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Is there any way that I can help out with this just to get me doing something because I'm kind of bored. And not like bored at work because there's lots of things for me to do. Um, but just like bored in life, you know, like it's just the same thing over and over, and I'm just looking for something different. Um, so that was 2 Fridays ago. Um, Nothing really happened the week after that Friday, so I guess that's last week. And then this week, um, yesterday I was just like, okay, well, I kind of like to talk to you about something else. So or I guess this was still last week, because on Friday I got word that something might be changing or whatever, and so I was just kind of like, okay, what can I do to like secure something for myself? And so I was like, well, let's go see if I can be actually helping out and make a difference and a stab at something. And so I did some more research over the weekend, and um, did. I shouldn't say that. I did. Yeah, maybe I did a little bit of digging, and found some information about like property management and whatever. And so I was like, okay, well now I can go make my pitch. So I did that yesterday, and I might have another position, and I'm kind of excited about it, and I hope that it works out. And I hope that it'll be for long term, not short term. But we were talking about like what my plans after high school are, and I came to the realization yesterday that, oh hey, I kind of know what I want to do now. So there's my little story.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Great. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do do you have any reservations after high school?
University.
Do you know where you're going
You
to
know?
go? Do you know what you're going to study?
Well, I want to go. Well, if you would not interrupt me, I would tell you. I want to go. Where are you going?
My brother didn't close my door.
Don't just leave me.
Well, I can hear you. You're in headphones. You're fine. Okay.
Well, ideally, I'd like to go to Toronto. But, I mean, things can change. I'm still looking at all my options, but Toronto would be ideal. And as far as what I'm taking, like, I want to be a nutritional psychologist, but that's not really a job. Like, it's not like you can just go, like, it's not like when you go to med school and you want to be a doctor, right? So, it's been a journey trying to figure out, like, what classes will get me there and what courses, and whether I should take the science route, the psychology route, or if I should, like, what would that look like? Because a nutritional psychologist is kind of an upcoming, newer, not an official job yet. Like, I'm hoping that by the time that I graduate in like 4-6 years, that it is more of a distinct job. But as of right now, there's a few people here and there who classify themselves as nutritional psychologists, but there's not really a title for it. Yeah. So either I'm going to go down the psychology route to get a psychology degree and all of my electives being like nutrition, or the opposite of that. And it's still kind of up in the air how that's going to go and all that. So,
Yeah, I have never actually heard of a nutritional psychologist. Um, I mean, I've heard of nutritionists and I've heard of psychologists, but not a mix of the two. Um, what exactly does one do?
well, so a psychologist, I'm sorry, my family is being really loud. But you know what a psychologist like talks to you and it helps you with the mental aspect of your life, right? And then nutritional is all like the physical things. And what I'm passionate about is the fact that we often overlook that, or we don't go into detail enough about the fact that they are so connected, that your mind and your body and your mental health and all of that is connected. And you know, and I feel like in the back of our minds, we all know that they're connected, but we either eat good to feel good or we do stuff for mental, and we don't kind of, or you can't go to one place to kind of get all in one, right? So what I would like to do is to be able to help people improve not only the physical eating exercise part of their lives, but also then help them with their mental at the same time, and kind of an all around, you know?
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, you know, I just want to help people have a better life. And
I get that.
I'm very, very interested and very passionate about, like, food and how that affects your body. And then I'm also very passionate about your mental state and how your life affects your mental state. But I'm also very passionate about how they are both very, very much connected. And how we don't make that realization as much as we should. And I'm not really sure where that job would really apply. I've thought of it in many different places, like in a school, in hospitals, nursing homes, you know. It kind of, or I was, like, my original thought was it being like, I would be like a psychologist, but I would also like help people with food and stuff, and it would be like a branch in like an office. But I mean, you know, the more I've done my research, like I could be in a hospital, I could be in a school, I could be in a nursing home, I could be anywhere. It kind of applies, you know, so then it just depends on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, starting a firm and like having your own group of people that you sort of manage and you all meet together once a week or whatever, and you're all just like psychologists and nutritionists all in one and whatever, and then you can refer patients to each other or whatever. I think that to me sound like makes more sense. And then you can like contract out to various places or whatever.
Yeah. And then I've also thought of like maybe if the whole nutritional psychologist thing doesn't work, I could be a dietitian, or I can be a psychologist. You know, and then I can kind of do various things in the health department if I decide that, you know, 2 years into this degree that, you know, maybe this isn't what I want. Even though I'm pretty sure this is what I want, but you know, you never know, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, my psycho dog is going crazy. Well,
Pretty
it's
sure they're
good
playing
that you
tag in my
have
house.
an idea of what you want to do.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, family. Shut up.
See, and
Stop.
I sort of now have an idea of what I want to do. Like, I think I've known all along that I wanted to go into business of some sort. I just didn't know what sort of business I wanted to go into. But now I kind of have an idea of what degrees I want to get and certificates and whatever. And I've picked out 13 that I would like to get. I don't know if it'll happen. Like, I mean, each I guess their courses is about $1,000 each. Which, and I could start now, I just don't have the resources. But I think I want to get a bachelor's of business admin, a bachelor's of accounting, and I think that's just the base ones that I want to get through first, and then just do kind of continued education as I go along, and I'm like, oh, well, that seems interesting, let's get one of those. Is sort of how my mind is working at the moment. But I think I want to get like a minimum of 3 businesses under my name. To just forever or whatever, and just see how that goes. So, like, I don't mind the idea of having like a property management firm as one of them, and then having like a lawn care firm or something like that, and then having an accountant's office or whatever, all be under the same like roof or whatever, but all be different entities. I think that would be kind of cool. Just to kind of start out my life, I guess. And yeah, that's sort of my plan for now until my 30s. But I do know that I just want to have a couple different businesses under my name, and then have like, I don't even know what they're all called, but I just want to have at least 2 businessy degrees. And then I know that accounting interests me, so that is also something that I'd like to accomplish. I don't know. Just simple little things.
Yeah. I want to open 3 firms all under the same roof and get 13 certificates. Woo! Yeah, and that's my plan until I'm 30. Whee!
See, now
Pretty
my
accurate.
only issue. Yeah. My only issue now, though, is that to get an accounting degree, you need to have, like, even to get into the university course, you need to have done at least grade 11 foundations or pre-cal.
I was right! I was right!
Sense.
I was right this whole time. I knew it. I told you
What?
that you need to do math. And you told me that you didn't need math to get into university. It's not useful. There's no point wasting my time on something that doesn't matter. Ha!
It depends on what you're going into.
But that,
at the time that I
but
was
that's
picking my
really
classes, I didn't know that I
unfortunate.
needed that. Oh, okay. This is
Suck
where
it,
I'm at
Tegan.
now. No, this is where I'm at now. I have one spare, and 2 courses that I'm thinking of swapping out, because the eSchool board screwed up my entire schedule. So I could still
Course, what
take
else
the
is new?
Foundations 20. Yeah, the government is fuck up is the gist of it. But no, they've screwed up my schedule. So for next quint, I've got communications media and visual arts. I did not want visual art. And that's actually, you know what? When I was first picking up my classes in grade 10, I picked foundations. And then I swapped that out for visual art because I thought, well, that might be an interesting class. And then I was like, okay, but now I kind of want to spare. So I just dropped that and had graphic arts. Except apparently they can't teach graphic arts over the internet, but they can teach video editing. So now I have a video editing class and a visual arts class. So I'm at a point where I kind of want to drop the visual art and swap it for either Accounting 30 or Law 30, if those are options, and get that done for high school, I guess. But it's just frustrating that they just kind of don't have any, don't give you any input after you've already selected your courses, and then they're just like, oh, well, you can take this, because you'll still get the credit. It's just frustrating. So...
I don't know how the schools can mess up every single person's schedule. Every single time that we get our schedules for the year, everyone's is always messed up. Either the organization is garbage, or everyone there is just stupid. And I don't think that everyone there is stupid. There's no way. So the way that they do things must be absolute garbage for them to be able to mess up everybody's schedule. And then it sucks because then people can't get certain classes in. And it's like, well, I signed up for this class, but you've messed up my whole schedule. And now I don't have this class. And then, you made things so difficult. Why? Why must you make things difficult?
See, and I was kind of hoping that having the eSchool option, it would give them more variety, because you would have basically the internet. Because really, they teach you with YouTube videos. And they just send you articles to read, and they're like, okay, go read this. So really, They're just using the internet. So I don't understand why you can teach a video editing class, but you can't teach a photo editing class over the internet. And why you can't teach drafting over the internet, because I was supposed to have drafting too. So I don't know how they're going to squeeze in my drafting, graphic arts, as well, because I've got 3 more classes to go. So how I have sort of worked it out in my mind is they've swapped the graphic arts and they've swapped the drafting for visual arts and communication media, which the communication media is fine. That is okay. I was kind of excited to take drafting, but I'm kind of now leaning more towards video editing. But I can, I've taught myself how to edit videos through YouTube. So it's not really a class that I feel is necessary. And visual art, I'm just like, how am I supposed to do visual art if I don't have paint supplies? Like unless we're just looking at like the history of art, which would still be interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, it'll be an interesting class. It's just not what I had envisioned for myself.
I took
So,
visual arts in French last quint.
yeah.
And I don't really know how you're supposed to do visual arts online because you won't have any of the, like, in my mind, either you learn about the history of art, which is cool, but like that's also kind of like a waste of time, unless you're super interested in it and like. But if it's just like then it's just, what's the point? But then visual arts, you'd be trying different art techniques and like painting and yada yada, but like you won't have the stuff at home. So how are you expected to be able to do art? Like unless you're just
Exactly.
drawing on a piece of white paper, like, but then it's like what's the point of the class? I'm not learning anything.
Yeah. See, and that's why I was excited about graphic arts because I've got most of the means to do the programs and like be able the general know-how of how you operate Illustrator and Photoshop and all that. So that was just interesting to me and like how to make like different designs for a website or for clothing or whatever. And now it's just like, well, but now it's just going to be visual art and different, like you say, techniques and how to think outside the box is sort of what the description was saying. Which, yeah, it's important, but I was more looking for the 21st century version. So I'm gonna have to call and get that sorted out. But
Yeah.
such is life, I guess. Even though that sounds like such a cliche. But whatever.
Honestly, when all this started and there was this option of e-school, even though e-school was already a thing, obviously with COVID it became more of a thing that people did. And the main selling point was like, "Oh, you get to stay at home. It's easy. You still get all of your class options." And I feel like from what I've heard, e-school has been more of a pain to get all the classes that you want than actually going to school. Because everyone that I know that's gone to e-school has been like, yeah, I'm taking like psychology 30 because I didn't get into the psychology 20 class, or like, well, I didn't take 3 of my classes because they don't even offer it online. And they're like basic classes too, like social studies and stuff. Like, oh, they don't offer social studies 20 and on e-school. I'm like, well, like like just I don't know, because that was the main selling point. Like, oh, it's easy. You get to stay at home. Like, there's no fuss. And I'm like, I don't know. It seems
Okay.
like e-school is being more of a pain than actually going to school. At least getting like the classes part. Like, no.
Yeah, see, when I was at Campbell, I didn't have any issues with classes unless I actually wanted change. But like the organization and like obviously it wasn't how I would have set it up myself, but it was pretty decent. And then e-school, just as we were setting things up, um, I kept the class that I was in, like the 2 classes that I was already in. That was fine. And then this quint, I was just supposed to have drafting, and that was it, which was scheduled. And then it was switched over to um, psychology and health science. And I didn't even want health science. I wanted environmental science, and I had sorted that out before I left. So now I'm just kind of like it's psychology's interesting. Like I think that everybody should take at least one psychology class because it is eye opening and it's just something that everybody should be aware of. And then there's health science where it's just kind of like, okay, well, you have to take it, or you have to take some other science. And science isn't really interesting to me. I mean, we spent like 1 week on the nutrition unit, and that was it. And now we've spent, I would say, probably twice that amount of time on the like digestive system and like the anatomy of the body, which sure it's interesting, but it's not what is my number one concern, I'd say. So it's just kind of like meh. But I was really excited to have a spare this quint, and now I don't. And I still don't know what I've got for the fifth quint. I know that I should have the one math, and then I should be done. But I don't know if that's what'll happen, or if they'll just say, oh, well, you'll have to take a different class and then backtrack next year. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But, like...
I guess that's another thing
Yeah,
why I
also
like,
kind of-
Campbell. That's why I like Campbell better, because you can't... They're not going to switch out on you in the last minute, being like, oh, well, now you have... Instead of grafting... God, I can't speak today.
Well,
Instead of, you know?
it wasn't even...
Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
It wasn't even
in
at the last
Campbell,
minute.
at least.
No, that is true. But it wasn't at the last minute. But it's just like, whoa, I had requested this and this was already done. And they don't even warn you about it. Like, there's no contact with you to see, like, oh, well, we don't offer this, so would you like to take this instead? Or like there's no contact with the parents or the students at all to see what they might like to get their input on it. It's just, here you go, find out sooner or later. So that is all that's frustrating for that part. But I would say that it's, for me anyway, it's better in like at home than it is in school. That's just my personal experience, because I'm not a fan of the quizzes every Friday and the presenting and all that. Whereas when you're online, you just kind of get to record a video of yourself, send it to your teacher, and they're the only ones that see it. And there aren't exams, there are quizzes, but there aren't like finals or anything like that. There's just like, you have to recall everything you've just learned. And they're smushing it into such a short period of time that even online, when I've got the time to actually sit down and be like, okay, this is how it should be, it still gets overwhelming. Just because they're smushing a whole semester into that much time. And expecting us just to pick it all up and be like, okay, let's get some more in here.
Yeah. My math teacher, who is apparently an angel sent from heaven, because she is so patient and so kind and so forgiving all the time, and I have no idea how she does it, because I do not have the same patience or the same amount of tolerance to all the crap that my fellow students try to pull on her. Like, at every single quiz, it's always the same people that complain about the fact that the course is going too fast and they don't have time to do the homework or to study or to do anything. So then they are doing bad in the class, you know? And that's always like the same excuse every single time. And I have no idea how my teacher does it. But, you know, that's like, there was a point last week where she kind of just got fed up with the same people, and she was like, well, I don't know what to tell you, like, because she gives them retests, and she helps them during the quizzes. Like, she helps them to a point where she's almost doing the quiz for them. Like, she's that nice, and it's so sweet, and she's really amazing. But, you know, she got to a point where she got mad. Well, I mean, she didn't get super mad, but she was like, you know, if you're not going to do the work for the class, like, you know, of course you're going to fail, you know? And I was so happy that she finally said something about the fact that they just kept complaining and complaining that it was too fast. The work was going too fast. Everything was, they don't have time to understand it. And I mean, like, yeah, we get it. Like, we're all in the same boat here. No one knows what we're doing. I can't even tell you what I did today. Like, I just cram all the information in my head for what I need. And then I forget it the second later and cram other stuff. Like, everyone's going through the same thing. You're not, like, it's not like you're the only one that feels like this is fast. Everyone feels like this is fast. Teachers are overflowing with work to correct and give back to you. And students are overflowing with work to do and hand in and tests and studying. So, like, you know, like, just calm down, okay? And just take the time to just do the work for that unit, and then maybe you'll understand it. Instead of sitting on your phone while you're supposed to be taking notes, not paying attention to the actual unit, and then not doing the work, and during work periods, gossiping. Maybe then you'll understand it. Just do the basic things, and, you know, you'll do better. I don't understand. It's not that difficult.
See, and then there are people like me who will say to the teacher, hey, this is going awfully fast. I either need like mark forgiveness on some things or just some extra explanation time. And it is frustrating because those students will have wrecked it for everybody, like they always do. But there will be people where it's just like the fast paced and like 5 assignments per class each day does not work. Like, even right now, we're getting four assignments in total each day, a minimum, and it's overwhelming because they're like, well, you should be spending 2 hours a day for each class so you can keep up with the workload. But it's just like, I spent 4 hours on the one quiz that we had today because I didn't have the patience to go back and watch all 15 videos that you threw at us explaining the unit, and then to have to go and read all 8 article papers things that you have assigned on the entire unit that you just gave at the start of the week, and you're just like, okay, well, now there's a quiz that's due yesterday, and we had like 1 day to get it all in. So I'm just kind of like, whoa, I still have one more class that I have to do, and that is, the videos will take up an hour and a half just watching them and taking notes. So, like, that just does not compute with me. I need more than, like, 6-ish hours to complete an entire unit. Like, it's just kind of annoying that teachers are just saying, okay, well, we just have to keep up with the workload. And that the government has just said, yeah, students have to, like, education is number one, when it's not really. Like, if we're feeling stressed out and whatever, we should be able to just say, okay, whoa, I just need to press pause and just take a breather. Like, our lives should not just revolve around marks in school and getting 90s. Like, that's just, I'm coming to the realization that that's just stupid, that is how our lives are, that you're assigned a grade and that's just how well you did, even if sure you did that, but you just don't understand what you did. Like, I did a quiz the other day where I just searched up the answers because they weren't in like the 4 videos that he assigned. Some of the answers were, and I was even taking notes, and I think I would say that I take fairly decent notes. And it was just like, okay, but I don't know the answer to that. So the fact that the teachers are just kind of throwing it out there and not. And I mean, I have my psychology teacher, I'd say, is one of the best teachers that I've had, because he'll give you the assignments and then he's just like, remember, I'm just sitting here in the room, so if you need help, just drop in. And he'll like, if we like, I'll hand something in and he'll strike up conversation or whatever, and like he's being open and inviting, whereas my health science teacher's kind of like a robot. Like, he's just like, here's the assignment, do it, hand it in, go on to the next assignment, like a, I don't even know, a well-oiled machine, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I have very opposite feelings about the pace of the of how fast everything is going, because on one hand, no matter how hard I try, I am always behind. I would have
yep,
to stay
same.
up all night to be able to get all of my homework done. And the minute that I finish something, there's 10 more assignments on me, and it just is so overwhelming because I always have that feeling of I'm behind. I am never done. I am never at that kind of at peace moment where I'm like, I have all my work done. I can just like literally breathe. No. Like yesterday, we did 3 sections of math. Each of them had about 10 questions that we had to do today, and we have the quiz for that section tomorrow. I'm not even done all of the work for the section, let alone actually studied, and then I'm going to take the quiz tomorrow. I have no idea what's going on in this unit. We literally finished it in about 5 minutes, and I have to take this test for it tomorrow, and I don't feel like I'm going to do good at all because we just learned this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm already getting tested on it, like I know what I'm doing. But then, on the other hand, a prime example of what happens when
Yeah,
you
like
don't learn
there's
something
no
is that
time.
you can finish.
There's significant lag.
Like last year when everything shut down, I was in the middle of science, right?
Yep.
And we didn't really touch on any important subjects up to that point that were going to affect me for the next few years. And whatever we did online, I didn't understand at all, and I was very confused. So I didn't really give up, but it was never really enriching education where I actually learned something. I didn't take anything out of it. So I come into physical science, and everything that I should have learned last year, I didn't learn. We didn't get to any grade 11 science because we were only reviewing grade 9 and 10 science all semester. Because half the people, A, didn't know basic things, or B, because it got cut off last year, right? So on one hand, I'm like, I want to do less work so I can actually understand what I'm doing. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, then if we only do a third of the content, then when I go into next year and the next year when I go into university, I'm not going to know 2/3 of what I should have known. And then I'm going to be behind there, you know? And it's a very, like, backwards feeling where I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing. But then if I don't even see it at all or even slightly understand it, it's not going to be any better than not understanding it at all. You know?
Yeah. Do you think that if we, because I mean, we're in school for what, 10 months? Right? It's 10 months?
Yeah.
With like 2 months off.
Yeah.
Do you think that if we did like,
Yep.
1 month per class, that would make a difference? Because then you're only focusing on one class per day for a whole month. Do you think that would lower your stress levels?
No.
No?
No. I don't feel like it would. Do you?
For me, I think, like, I mean, it would be, like, we're what? 34 days? Is that what, 34, 35 days?
Yeah.
I personally don't like how fast it's going because it's just like you get one assignment. I mean, even like you say, you get like 3 sections a day and then you have a test, and it's just like, wow, I can't, that doesn't work in my memory. Like, that doesn't give me time to process it. And like
Yeah.
they they say that you should have, what is it, 3 or 5 forms of seeing something or whatever. So like the teacher writes something on the board, you see it, then you take your notes, you write it down, you see it again, and your teacher explains it to you, so you hear it. So that's 3 to 5 ways of learning all at the same time. And then you go back and you look at it another time, so you're seeing it again, and then you do your test, and then it's in your brain 7 times. But it's almost like we can't do that now because we do, like, we see it, they explain it, we write it down, but we don't actually retain anything. So it's just
No,
kind of
yeah.
like it comes in and then it's just on the paper, and you look at it the next day and you're just like, huh? What? Is honestly how I
Yeah.
feel. So I kind of feel like they could have like taken out the tests, or yeah, tests and exams, and just sort of made it sort of like, did you like take the time that you would have spent on the test and just be like, did you understand this? Do you need me to go over it another time? Like, I feel like that's sort of what should have happened, rather than just being like, here you go, test, here you go, another test. Just keep it moving.
Yeah. Yeah. I, looking back even a week, and I sometimes, because all my sections units are in my folder, right? I'll pull up another unit and I'll go through it, and I won't even remember what that is. You could test me on like a test and a unit that I did last week, and I would fail because I don't know if I'm the only person. I feel like everyone does this, but you learn it really fast, do the work, memorize it for the test the next day, and then you forget it and you move on to the next thing that you have to memorize. I don't actually fully learn it to be able to apply it to anything. I just learn it for the sake of being able to do the test and get a good mark in the class. But if we were to do a final test, I would have to relearn everything that I did, even in the first unit, even the units that we just finished like last week. I would have to relearn everything because I don't remember and I haven't obtained anything that I learned.
Yeah. Seeing when, like, for the first quint that I was in school, I had financial literacy and accounting. I have retained a fair bit of stuff from each class, but only because the teachers actually made it interesting and cared if you were retaining any of the information and if you were understanding the material. And like for accounting, we had like at least 2 quizzes per week, but it was like we didn't really take notes. It was just kind of like a systematic thing where we do a practice, then you do a practice, then you do the assignment, and then you do the addition to the assignment or whatever, and then you do a practice test, and then you do the test, and then you can do a challenge problem. So each unit, or like each section, had like 7 steps that you would go through of the exact same thing. Whereas, um, um, like health science, for example, it's just kind of like read this, watch this, write this down, do the assignment, move on to the next thing. Is literally all it is. And my brain does not comprehend things that way. So for that, I wouldn't say that I'm struggling. It's just that I would like to see it done differently. And I honestly think that the government and the school board is not doing enough to help the teachers and the students get through, honestly, these tough times. Because that's what they are.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, well, just get this done. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. One thing that my physical science teacher does is, so you get, we come into class and we get an assignment. We have 2 textbooks. So it's usually a reading assignment. So he'll go over it with us. He'll kind of do an overview of what it's about, talk about a few things, kind of introduce the topic. Then when you go home, or like the next day when you're at home, you read the thing, you take notes, like there's specific notes that he wants you to take. Then you do the practice problems that he assigns and stuff, right? And then when you come to class the next day, we go over it. And he goes over a couple things, and he answers questions, and he helps you. Then you scan it, and you hand it into Google Classroom. Then he will mark it. And you will either get 2 out of 2 or 1 out of 2, which is really bad for Power School, because it's very scary seeing like a whole bunch of 50%. But actually, what he does is you have to go back then and correct the mistakes. And then you hand it back in, and he looks at it again. And then if there's still stuff you're getting wrong, he writes comments and stuff. So, and he takes a few days to a week to correct something. So you're constantly going back and fixing it and fixing it. So it's kind of the thing you were saying about you're seeing it 3 to 5 times. So then it makes it easier to actually remember what it is, because you're going back and fixing the things that you got wrong, going back and fixing the things that you didn't understand, going in class and him explaining it more than once and going over example problems and then asking questions. And then I can actually text my teacher, and it's so much easier because then it's just like I can send a quick text, take a picture of something, and he can get back to me, right? Which I thought it was really cool. And at first, at the beginning of the quint, I was like, this is so stupid. I'm going to have twice as much work. I'm going to have to go back and correct it and correct it and correct it. But actually, it's actually really helpful, because then not only do you get 100% on the assignment once you've finished it, but then I actually understand the things that I got wrong, and I have to go back and fix it, and I have to see it more than once and really understand what I did, which has actually been really cool. And I think that should be a thing that is implemented in regular school. That shouldn't be just a thing for online school. That should be implemented all the time, because it's so useful. And you really understand the topic. And if you don't go back and correct it at a certain time, or because he'll give a due date and he'll be like, in 3 weeks, these select units will not be available. So if you don't go back and take the time to actually correct it, you just get a 50% on it. So for those who don't actually want to put in the work, they get a 50%. And if you put in the work and you actually learn it and you correct it, you get 100%.
Yeah, see, I can see that working only if you actually understand what you're learning. And, like, let's just do math and science last year. I did not understand the science because it was all like chemistry type stuff, which I am not interested in. And for the math stuff, it was just like she'd teach it, but my brain wouldn't understand in the way that she would teach it. And I was just like, okay, but that doesn't make any sense, and why are we learning this? And I'm still at that point with health science right now is why do I need to learn this? Like, what is this going to do for me in the future? Like, the nutrition unit, that was interesting. But now that we're on to, like, the digestive system and the human body anatomy, what is that teaching me real life? Like, where's knowing where your intestines are going to get me? Like, I don't want to be a surgeon. I don't want to be a doctor. So how does this help me? Is sort of where I'm at. And I'm not understanding the material because he's literally given us for the digestive system unit, whatever he called it. He literally gave us like 8 videos and like 8 things to read or whatever. And I'm just like, but none of this is interesting. And you've already given us the notes, so there's nothing to really take notes on. So I am missing out on that portion. And if I were to go do that, that would take away from the time that I could be doing the assignment if I had to take notes, just to keep it in my brain. That would take away from the time that I would use to either watch the videos or to read another article or to put it into the assignment. But like, no, I'm just at this point again where what is this doing for me? Like, how does that apply to my daily life? The teachers have to make it interesting, and they have to apply themselves and make you want to apply yourself, is sort of what I'm getting at, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, a good
I
teacher
get it.
makes a world of difference.
I know, right? You don't realize that you had a good teacher until you have a bad
So, like-
teacher, and you're like, oh, dang. This sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess that's just where I'm at. Yeah. Anywho, the house is getting restless, so I guess that means that this should be done.
All right, well, nice chatting to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. All right. Thank you for listening to episode 9 of Anything and Everything.
Woo, we're almost in double digits.
Yeah. We're getting there. Slowly, but surely.
Coolio.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.